Today, we're taking a bold stand against the tyranny of flat pack and boring terrain. While some say competition spec terrain can only be functional, I ask, why can't it be beautiful as well? So, let's bolt those barricades and sanctify the Sanctorum. For the roll. If you've played 40k for long enough, you'll know that there's a constant battle between the beauty of narrative terrain versus the functionality of competitive layouts. So one tells an awesome and immersive story but lacks the ability to fully utilize the rules of the game and ability of some units, whereas the other utilizes the rules and is even for both players, but lacks any sort of immersion. So the mission for this video is to build a competition standard Warhammer 40k terrain set that still feels truly grimdark, using nothing but official Games Workshop kits, a mountain of small sprues, and enough plastic glue fumes to legally qualify as a religious experience. Now, I've built competition terrain sets before that are budget friendly and work really well for giving you terrain on a table, the guide videos for which are in the description below, whereas this video is more of an experiment to see if it can be done using kits that are already prefabricated and it still look right. Now this isn't me saying, yeah, everyone just go out and drop an unnecessary amount of money and time just to get terrain on a board, because we all know how expensive a hobby this can be already. Now the kits we use to build this are relatively expensive and also sometimes quite difficult to get hold of, as at least one of these kits now is out of print, but luck and timing had a big part to play with being able to pull this project off. So, this project started when I got a message from a dear friend and channel patron, Stephen. This is Stephen, wanting to get together and collab on a project to build him some proper competition standard terrain that can be used at our local club. After a couple of conversations, we had 3 main points that were a must for his terrain. It had to be durable, it had to be flat packable for storage and transport, and it had to bring the 40k universe to life. Stephen really loved the look of the GW terrain kits and the grimdark aesthetic that they have. Stephen has been a collector for over 10 years, and in that time has got a few of the older GW terrain kits that he wanted to incorporate into the build. So we thought, why not hit 2 of our points and use actual GW terrain kits for all of it? The first 2 kits we started with were the Killzone Volkus and the Sanctum Administratus boxes, both of which are still sold at the time of recording. The third kit I'll talk about later. So, here's the thing about competition terrain. It has rules. You can't just drop a ruined cathedral in the middle of a board and call it a day. You need standardized, obscuring lines and scalable heights that also give symmetrical lanes, and ideally something that won't collapse the moment a Redemptor Dreadnought kind of looks at it funny. That's why we had to rethink how these kits fit together, literally. The Killzone Volkus pieces give us modular industrial bones. The Sanctorum Administratus brings the Gothic grandeur, and the Sector Imperialis, our third kit, that's our classic ruin architecture that ties it all together. Each piece speaks a different design language, so merging them was like teaching a tech priest that aesthetics is a valid machine function. But with a bit of planning to match the pieces across the kits and some mild heresy, we could finally start clipping. Now that we had enough wall sections that would either fit together naturally or could be Frankensteined together, which would also meet the exact dimensions needed for competition terrain, it was time to look at how we would then make it flat packable. This is where trusty magnets come in once again to save the day. A hand drill and a pin vise were used to drill in magnet holes on each wall section. By giving each building a return wall on each side, as well as magnetizing them as well as any upper levels, this allowed the terrain to meet all of the different layouts, except number 7, as well as being flat packable for storage and transport. While Stephen concentrated on that side of the project, I then got the job of Frankensteining pieces together to make the longer 8-inch walls needed for some of the buildings. For this, some of the smaller scatter terrain pieces and ceiling sections can be combined using sprue glue and mini clamps. I also had the job of cutting down slightly longer pieces for the return walls using a Dremel. For those that don't know, sprue glue is a staple for kit bashers in the community, allowing you to fill holes and gaps and glue multiple plastic pieces together using chemically melted plastic. To make it yourself, simply take plastic cement of your choice and combine it with small clippings of shavings from plastic sprues and leave it approximately 24 hours, and hey presto, you'll have your very own pot of sprue glue. The more plastic shavings that you use, the thicker the sprue glue will be. One thing that we wanted to make sure of was that as we progressed through the project, that we kept checking to make sure that each of the layout in the tournament companion could be made. Except for layout number 7, because layout number 7 is just bloody terrible, with no real synergy with any of the other layouts and the building measurements that you get in them, and they just don't fit together. I mean, GW, seriously, what the f***? Anyway. Even though having walls on each side of the building used up more of the kits, it allowed the more natural flow of the design to be continued rather than having the same height across the entire board, as is all too common with block buildings. The trick we were trying to hit was to balance visual storytelling with playability. You want the board to look immersive, but never at the cost of clarity. If your opponent can't tell where the obscuring ends, you've accidentally made a narrative diorama, not a tournament table. Overall, the Killzone Volkus and the Sanctum Administratus boxes gave us all the buildings that we needed, as well as the 2-inch terrain, except the 2 C-shaped buildings that are found in every layout. Some time ago, Stephen had managed to pick up a terrain box from GW called Sector Imperialis, Imperial Sector, and had made a couple of the buildings from it that he'd been using across games over the last 2 years. Turns out, these were near perfect matches for our C-shaped buildings, and with using a Dremel to cut down a few centimeters of one of the return walls, we had everything we needed to start painting. When talking originally, Stephen wanted his terrain to represent the grimdark, broken imperial world that we're all familiar with in the 40k universe. That dystopian sci-fi future where there's nothing but war that got us all hooked on the game in the first place. So, I got to work painting the terrain to really bring it to life. There's this ongoing debate in the Warhammer 40k community, the eternal war that makes the Horus Heresy look like a mild workplace disagreement, and it's all about terrain. On one side, you've got competitive terrain. Clean, functional, standardized. Every ruin is symmetrical, every obscuring piece carefully measured, and not a single ladder that doesn't serve a purpose. And on the other, you've got narrative terrain. The kind of table that tells a story before the dice are even rolled. It's cinematic, it's immersive, and it usually has at least one piece that the game is being played around. Thing is, both sides are right. Competitive terrain makes the game fair. It lets players test their skill, not just who bought the taller ruins. But narrative terrain, that's what makes the game memorable. You remember the time that your tank exploded through a cathedral window, not the time that you held a perfect corner. The truth is, you need both. Structure to keep the game balanced, and story to make it worth playing. Let's be honest, competition tables aren't built to be pretty, they're built to work. They're geometry lessons with a coat of paint. And that's just fine. The goal is clarity. Everyone can see what's obscuring, what's breachable, what's scalable. No arguments, no tape measuring jousts at table 3. But there's a thing. When everything looks the same, something gets lost, the immersion. 40k is supposed to feel like a universe of endless war. Decaying cities, alien worlds, the smell of promethium and bad life choices. But that's why adding detail matters. Weathering banners, little signs of life or lack thereof it. It's not just about the look, it's about inviting players into the story. The challenge is doing that without breaking the competitive clarity. So yeah, this table might look dramatic, but every ruin still has specs. You can have both. It's all about what speaks to you as a player. The funny thing about terrain is that it reflects your mindset as a hobbyist. If you're competitive, you see efficiency, line of sight, engagement, zones, balance, deployment. If you're narrative, you see potential, the last stand at an outpost, the ruins of a once great city, a story waiting to happen. But there's a kicker. Both take skill. Competitive builders have to think like engineers. Precision, math, measurement. Narrative builders have to think like artists. Composition, color, mood. And when those two meet, you get something rare. A table that's alive, but still fair. A board that makes you feel something while you roll for turn 1. It's not about choosing sides, it's about understanding that the best games happen somewhere in the middle, where art and balance shake hands and call it the draw. Now, we all know the joke. Why spend £200 on GW terrain when MDF exists? And yeah, MDF terrain gets the job done. It's how I started my YouTube career. But there's a reason people still chase the look of proper 40k scenery. It feels like the setting. Those gothic arches, the cracked steel walkways, they bring a sense of identity to the game. You can tell you're in the 41st millennium before a single model's even hit the board. The trade-off, of course, is cost and time. You're not just buying kits, you're buying hours of clipping, gluing, painting, cursing, and re-gluing. But when it's done, you're not just playing a match, you're stepping into a world. So yeah, it's expensive, but so is coffee. And we somehow still justify that as a habit. Every wargamer eventually learns something profound. The terrain can be as much of a player as you are. It shapes the game, dictates strategy, and invites you in. But it's also art. It's one of the parts of the hobby that doesn't belong to a faction, a codex, or a meta. It's pure creativity. Competitive players use it to test themselves, narrative players use it to tell stories. And when you find a way to make both work and a balanced layout that still looks cinematic, that's when the hobby really clicks. Because at the end of the day, terrain isn't just scenery. It's the stage where every moment happens. The triumphs, the disasters, the 1s and 6s. And if the stage looks good doing it, even better. The last thing to do was to test the competition layouts to make sure each one could be built without issue. As each building was made with removable walls on each side, it guaranteed that regardless of the layout, each of them would be able to be used, and the spare walls then could be used as 2-inch terrain. Once again, each map layout was taken into consideration except for map number 7, as it required different sized buildings for no apparent reason whatsoever. I mean, all the other maps are at least mirrors of the staple buildings, but map number 7 just had to be different. It's like it wants everyone to know that it had to be. And then it was like, who me? I'm map number 7, don't you know? With each Manufactorum built, switchable, painted and prepped, it's time to see how it looks on the tabletop. And there it is, a competition-ready Warhammer 40k table built entirely from 3 Games Workshop kits that were never meant to cooperate. Sure, it's expensive, it's time-consuming, and will push you creatively to make. But what you get is something very few tournament boards ever are: alive. Terrain should invite you to play, not just mark out a deployment zone. Because if you're spending 3 hours arguing over secondary objectives, you might as well do it somewhere beautiful. Are there problems with this approach? Sure. I mean, in competition games, buildings need to be flat walls without columns or buttresses, with walls extending up the full length, all with the aim of making sure everything is equal and exact. But these buildings don't quite do that. And what tournament packs are you using? Because if you're in a country that doesn't tend to use the official GW tournament guide, like here in the UK, funnily enough, that's also an issue. I'm sure there's plenty of more that I haven't even thought of, but when you're on a board that looks like this, and you can really lose yourself in the game and the story being told, who cares? I wanted to thank the channel producer, Danny H, and all the other Patreon members that continue to support the channel. Your support means the absolute world to me, and I couldn't do it without you. I'd also like to give a special thank you to Stephen for his help and dedication in this project. It was awesome to do, and I can't wait to have a proper game with you using the new terrain. If you'd also like to support the channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the video description, with tiers starting from as little as $4 per month. If a monthly commitment isn't your thing, you can also support the channel by picking up your own faction-inspired measuring gauge. There are only a small number of these currently for sale for the rest of the year, but there are plans for more to be made available in the new year. The link to my Etsy store is in the description below. We use these gauges in every game that we play, and it saves so much time. Each gauge has a measurement of 1, 2, 3, 6, and 9 inches, all the most common made, and doesn't risk a tape measure pinging back and knocking a model flying across the room. Perfect for those close-up measurements. You can pick your own up from my Etsy store using the link that's in the description below. If you've enjoyed this video or want to see more ways to build competition terrain on a budget, the video here is a great place to start. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.